Hey guys, it's Saturday, July 8th. There we go. Saturday, July 8th. And today in mindfulness class, I started off with this idea of happiness. As I've been looking at the top 5 regrets of the dying. And number 5 on this particular list was I did not allow myself to be happier. And so I was wondering how we could approach these top 5 regrets from a mindfulness perspective. So I began with the question, does mindfulness make us happy? And after some discussion, we got down to the meat of it. And basically the answer is no. No, mindfulness in and of itself doesn't. You know, for instance, mindfulness is being used to train soldiers not only in how to deal with emotions, trauma, PTSD, things like that, but also for like snipers, how to maintain a relaxed state of focused attention. So that state, that mindful state in and of itself doesn't make you happy. It's what you focus on. Mindfulness gives us the space to choose, right? It reminds us that we are not our emotions. We don't have to get caught up in the day-to-day. We can pick what we focus on. So I shared a poem by a man named Gensei from the 1600s in Japan. Trailing my stick, I go down to the garden edge, call to a monk to go out the pine gate, a cup of tea with my mother, looking at each other, enjoying our tea together. In the deep lanes, few people in sight. The dog barks when anyone comes or goes. Fall floods have washed away the planks of the bridge. Shouldering our sandals, we wade the narrow stream. By the roadside, a small pavilion where there used to be a little hill. It helps our hermit mood. Country poems pile one sheet on another. And I dabble in the flow, delighted by the shallowness of the stream. I gaze at the flagging, admiring how firm the stones are. The point in life is to know what's enough. Why envy those otherworld immortals? With the happiness held in one square inch heart, you can fill the whole space between heaven and earth. That really got us into a discussion of what happiness is also. It's very easy to get caught up on Facebook and Instagram and these sorts of things with, my example was these people who are like, I just went bungee jumping in Antigua. You know, we watched the beautiful sunrise while sipping mojitos. It was amazing. My life is so much better than yours. And, maybe not. Like Gensei says, the trick is to know when it's enough. One of the people in class today was like, mindfulness has allowed me to wake up in the morning and not just roll over and hit the snooze button, but just to lie in bed and think, man, this is nice. Just to lay here for a minute. Happiness, peace, contentment, as opposed to ecstatic joy, rapture. There's a time and a place for those things too. When is enough? Mindfulness helps us work on the acceptance of what is. I think bungee jumping in Antigua would be pretty cool. But that's not where I am right now. And I don't have to have that. You can be happy here, right? I can be content if I choose to be. And mindfulness allows me that space. Now, oddly enough, we went from there onto death and dying. And I'm not really sure how the conversation switched so suddenly. But really the organic consensus of the group was that discussion needed to happen today. So we ran with it. And we talked about the idea that our culture doesn't deal very well with death at all. That people wind up in the hospital confronted with loved ones who are dying, and the person who's dying was never really told how to come to grips with that. And the people who are watching them die were never taught how to come to grips with that. And the doctors and nurses, they have more experience, but they're still feeling their way. What are best practices? You know? Mindfulness allows us the idea, the equanimity, to deal with this in a way that we choose. Because the emotional impact of the seriousness of that situation can be so overwhelming that there's a tendency sometimes just to shut down or to freak out or to resort to those types of coping mechanisms which may or may not be appropriate for the moment. You know, whether it's you who are experiencing those things or, you know, it's one of your family members. So how do we deal with that? Mindfulness offers a technology that lets us say, I am not my emotions, and I can choose, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be calm, that you can't freak out. You know, there's a time and a place. If we are dying, then this can allow us to face it with dignity and with the presence of mind to do the things, to reconcile the things that we need to. If one of our friends or family is going through that process, then this allows us to not be a burden to them, but rather a helpmeet, and to those people around us. Simple, but not easy. And I don't want people to think I'm making light of this, because I'm not. It's a very profound process. And like mindfulness, it's easy to say, it's a lot more difficult to do. But those are some things to think about. How can we use mindfulness to be compassionate to the people that have never heard of mindfulness and are going through these things, and they're freaking out, and they're freaking us out because they're just creating more stress and more drama on top of an already traumatic, situation. We have to be mindful of their feelings too, their fear, their insecurity. And we have to maintain our own center so that we can more capably deal with them and not be dragged under as well, right? So, deep conversation. If you're in Cartersville on Saturdays, come see us, because we do some good stuff. Now, so yeah, I don't know how to wind that up. I mean, that's a tough act to follow, but I'm looking forward to next week being with you guys. So, got any questions, got any comments? Please feel free. Love to hear them. And we'll see you next time.